What's up, guys, and welcome back to the penultimate episode of Bringing Back Bottas. If you haven't been following this series, it's been going on for a while now. I think I started it last year. I just never got around to finishing it, but I'm going to try and finish it before F122 comes out. So this episode and then the season finale, and then I'm just going to put all my attention on F122, hopefully get out a lot of content, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. But going into this final or penultimate race of the season in Australia, we are about 30 points behind Lewis Hamilton, so it is very, very important that we win this race. And you can see what I'm doing right here. I'm just taking off upgrades on the car because our car is actually getting too fast, and if our car is too fast going into these last two races, Hamilton's going to breeze away with the championship, because all he needs realistically is, I think, P5 or higher in both the last two races, and he'll take the championship. So we're trying to slow our car down a little bit, make it a little more difficult for him, so that he doesn't run away with his championship. And coming into Q3, you can see we're down in P10 on our final lap. It's because we actually messed up our first lap, so this lap is what counts. And if we don't put in a great lap here, we're starting right in the midfield, our teammate most likely on pole. So it would be an awful way to start the weekend. But you can see purple sector 1 is looking very promising already. We have to keep this lap clean. We cannot make a mistake. We make a mistake on this qualifying lap, it's going to be P10, and it's going to be very, very hard to get the win in Australia. And these last two races, we have to win them both if we're going to take home the championship, and obviously hope that luck is on our side and Hamilton fails to do well in the last two races. But you can see it's purple sector 2 as Hamilton sets a 19.9. So I think most people are doing 20.1s, 20.2s. You can see Carlos Sainz in P6 with a 20.2. So as long as we're in those low 20s, high 19s, we're going to be up there. We might even be able to take pole away from our teammate as we come around the last couple corners. It's not too good through there. We didn't carry as much pace as we could have, but running up to the line, can we take pole away from Lewis Hamilton on a penultimate race? No, we cannot. It's a 20.0. I'm not sure where we are in the grid. We come home and we actually take P2, and look how close it is between us and Max Verstappen. 1/1000th. Don't forget, Max Verstappen is still in with the championship fight as well. He's 4 points ahead of us, about 24 or something behind Lewis Hamilton. So this is a big race for Max Verstappen as well. But let's head over into the race and see how well we can do.
And it's fantastic to have you with us here today, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the rundown into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and a Mercedes alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Perez, Carlos Sainz, and Gasly, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Ricciardo, and Max Verstappen. Ocon, Raikkonen, Lando Norris. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Russell, Latifi, Tsunoda. They've taken a grid penalty. Sebastian Vettel and Antonio Giovinazzi. Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So the big talking news here in Australia is that Max Verstappen has taken a grid penalty, and he's going to be starting down in P10. So it's going to be very difficult for him to keep his title fight alive. He's going to have to get through the field and realistically finish ahead of Hamilton at least. So we'll see what he can do in this Grand Prix. We're starting on the soft tyres. It is 5 red lights here in Australia, and away we go. We get a decent start, but Lewis Hamilton also gets a good start. He comes across to cover us off, and Lewis Hamilton remains in P1. We stay ahead of Leclerc. We're in P2. Verstappen's already losing places at the start of this Grand Prix, so a terrible start for him. But we're going to see if we can have a go at Lewis Hamilton. We're right in this slipstream. It's Leclerc's in our slipstream. We got down the inside of Lewis Hamilton. We get the move done. We stay in the white lines. Charles Leclerc follows us through, which is absolutely crucial title in the championship. So we've gone up to P1, Charles Leclerc in P2, and Lewis Hamilton dropping down to P3 early doors. And what a start this is for us. On lap 3, it has been the perfect start to get that P1 after the first few corners. And Charles Leclerc to get ahead of Hamilton as well was very big indeed. If we can come home and take the full 26 points this Grand Prix, and Lewis Hamilton, let's say, finishes third, we will be needing, obviously, Hamilton to maybe finish P6, P7 in Abu Dhabi, but at least we'll still be in the fight. And you can see as we ride on board with Max Verstappen, he's down in P11 and he is struggling to get through these cars. And it's going to be very hard in Australia. It's not an easy track to overtake at least not on F1 2021 for the AI. You got to be a lot faster than the car ahead, and if you're stuck in a DRS train, it is almost impossible. But Lewis Hamilton with DRS now is going to go around the outside of Charles Leclerc. You can see Charles Leclerc, he's got a bit of wing damage on that front left of his wing, but he's stuck it around the outside. Has Lewis Hamilton got the inside for the next corner, and Lewis Hamilton is up into P2 on lap 7, and I think by this point we have about a 6-7 gap to Lewis Hamilton. You can see there on lap 10 at 7.8 seconds ahead of Hamilton after Charles Leclerc has pit, as he is going for the two-stop strategy. We're going to come into the pits and we're going to go onto the hard tyre. We're going to make the one-stop strategy work. We're not going to overcomplicate things, especially when you're 7.5 seconds ahead of P2. Hopefully Perez can put Lewis Hamilton under a bit of pressure and take P2 away from him, because every point that's taken away from Lewis Hamilton will be crucial for us this season as we come flying into the pits. Lock up a little bit just to make sure that we stay under the pit speed limiter, and we get the tyres on and we see that our teammate comes in, but unfortunately we have a problem with the clutch, so we actually can't get out. I'm so sorry to Lewis Hamilton. Eventually it gets solved and we can get out, and Lewis Hamilton has lost a lot of time in the pits. He's still getting held up by the McLaren and the Alpine, but eventually he gets out just ahead of the Aston Martin, which is devastating news for us. But the Red Bull, Sergio Perez, has got past Lewis Hamilton. We can only apologise for that problem with our clutch. Definitely did not want that to happen. But look where he's come out. He's come out right in the midfield. He's going to lose a lot of time here. You can see Haas up front fighting. And yeah, Hamilton has lost a lot of time. Charles Leclerc up in P3 right behind us. As we've got a bit of clear air, we're fighting with Charles Leclerc just a little bit. But we're not going to lose too much time, as we know he's on a two-stop strategy, and we shouldn't have to worry too much. And now on to lap 14, you can see Charles Leclerc is nowhere to be seen, and that is because he had a mechanical failure, which is honestly really bad news for us, because he was someone that was going to take points away from Lewis Hamilton. He was on the two-stop strategy, but he would have had the pace to beat Lewis Hamilton in this race, hopefully at least, and there'll be more points taken away. But Sergio Perez in P2 hopefully will be able to stay there. I don't think Hamilton will be able to catch him up. As you can see, Hamilton moving up into P5. Carlos Sainz, who has used all his pit stops in P4, Gasly will have to pit again, unfortunately. So I think the best we can look at is Hamilton finishing P4 this Grand Prix and only picking up 12 points. And if we pick up the full 26, then at least we'll, I think, almost halve that gap to Lewis Hamilton in the World Drivers' Championship for Abu Dhabi. And you can see on lap 23, we're getting through this Grand Prix. Can Carlos Sainz hold off Lewis Hamilton for that little bit longer? 7 more laps, 6 more laps, Carlos. If you can hold him off for 6 more laps, you're going to do us a really big favour up in front. You can see the interval is saying that Sergio Perez is right behind us, but he is not. That is just lying. I think we're still 4 or 5 seconds ahead of him, comfortably clear. As now Lewis Hamilton, he's got DRS on Carlos Sainz. He's going to try and go around the outside, but now he dives down the inside of Carlos Sainz, and he's going to get the move done. Is he yet? No, Carlos Sainz is sticking it through around the outside. Hold it there, Carlos, hold it there, but he cannot. The Spaniard has to give way, as Daniel Ricciardo might be thinking of a move himself, but Lewis Hamilton gets the job done, doing what he needs to do, and the 3rd place for Lewis Hamilton here is probably a really good result for him, as he's basically within touching distance of that title. I think we might have to do a bit of mind games in Abu Dhabi, maybe, you know, slow him down a little bit, see if we can drop him down to P6, P7, and then do that little bit of a comeback drive to get that P1. But you can see Verstappen here, our other title rival, just as he's not finding a way past these cars. You know, he's struggling. He's trying to find moves, but they're going side by side up ahead of him, and you know, there's not much room for 3 cars to go side by side on this track. So he's just sitting behind in P11, watching his title challenge just dwindle in front of his very eyes. So Hamilton down in P3, we're comfortably in P1 now, 9 seconds ahead of Perez, 19 ahead of Hamilton. So it's been a bit of a boring race for us, but if we did, you know, if Hamilton didn't drop behind Leclerc on that first lap, I think we would have had quite a battle with Lewis Hamilton. As you can see, we take fastest lap, 23.258, and every point counts for us. So if we can take 26 points, that'd be crucial. You can see 26 laps now, 29. Hamilton is almost cruising. Carlos Sainz, he's 4 or 5 tenths behind, but the straight line speed of this Mercedes is just too fast. So it's looking like a podium of Valtteri Bottas, Sergio Perez, and Lewis Hamilton. But hold on a second, Hamilton has pulled up. He's got an engine problem. Lewis Hamilton, with 3 laps to go in Australia, has an engine problem. I do not believe it. Lewis Hamilton has DNF'd. He's not going to pick up any points here in Australia, and we are celebrating as we're going around these corners. We cannot believe our luck right now. We are about to pick up 26 points in Australia, which means we're going to be only 2 points behind Lewis Hamilton in the championship. This is absolutely crazy. Who would have seen this coming in Australia? Melbourne has sprung up a few surprises. Perez is going to take P2. Carlos Sainz in P3. And now as we round the final few corners on the final lap of the Grand Prix, we cannot believe our luck here. We're going to take P1 in Melbourne. This is going to set up an absolute finale, a crazy finale indeed. We're going to Abu Dhabi, 2 points behind Lewis Hamilton, Perez in second, Sainz in third, and Max Verstappen can only manage P8, essentially taking himself out of the title fight. A very disappointing weekend for Verstappen. If he would have finished up there in P2, we could have had a 3-way fight in Abu Dhabi. But it looks like it's going to be between us and Lewis Hamilton for that World Drivers' Championship. I cannot believe our luck right now. This is absolutely crazy.
Played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
There we have it. Look at us celebrating on the podium. This is... I can't believe our luck here. Hamilton to get a DNF with 3 laps to go in Australia has just blown the title fight wide open. You can see here we managed to keep fastest lap from Pierre Gasly, who finished in P5. He did a 23.278, so it was very crucial that we got that fastest lap on those hard tyres as the fuel load was getting lower. But here you see the race for the title. Lewis Hamilton 306 points, Valtteri Bottas 304, Verstappen on 292. He's not out of it just yet, but he needs both me and Hamilton to have either mechanical problems or to crash out when we're fighting between the two of us. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like and I'll see you guys later. Peace.